name is Daniel Gray with Dean Dorton. Hopefully everybody is wide awake and terrified now. That's what I expect. There's a lot of security presentations going on today. So I'm going to slip in a little bit of maybe not quite so much security related document management. But again, you're going to hear more security to wake up again this afternoon. My name is Daniel Gray. I'm with Dean Dorton, IT manager. What that means is that I'm actually a user. I worked for Dean Dorton for about 16 years now, and I've been responsible for all of their internal technology. When I joined, we were about 60 staff. Now we're close to about 250. So as you can imagine, technology and changes and growth can be a challenge to keep up with. And sometimes the challenges can be fun, and sometimes they could be security related, and there's nothing fun about security. Everybody knows that. What that also means is I have lots of experience with a lot of data, how to handle the data, how to manage it, how to keep up with it, and sometimes how to make the employees happy as well. So in my role, I keep up with their data, but I also help manage the servers, the switches, the environment, all the applications, all the software, how to tie them all together. So that's some good fun stuff. I'm going to offer some direction, a little experience, some recommendations. Again, everybody here comes from a different environment. So what we're going to talk about today may or may not fit you exactly. But again, maybe you can take something away with it. So do you really need a DMS? Do you really need a document management system? And if you already have one, that's great. You have email. That's a document management system. Everybody has an F drive, most likely. Something close to that. It's not really a document management system, but it is. It's where all your files are at. So when you try to go find a managed document management system, a true system, so not an F drive, not Outlook, but a true system, the first question they're going to ask you is, why? It's so expensive. It's expensive. You have to pay for user licenses. You have to pay for server licenses. You have to pay for updates. You have to pay for consulting. You have to pay for integrations because you want to integrate with other systems. And then if there's a problem and maybe it's not quite their fault because you did something, you're going to pay for them to fix that as well too. So we got a lot of money involved, and that's in the accounting industry where I'm coming from. That's pretty big. But really these days, money gets everybody's attention. It's complex, definitely. So not only is it expensive, but it's complex, and that means you need somebody to manage it. It doesn't matter whether it's in the cloud or whether it's local. There's complexity to this. Where are my documents stored? What's going on with them? Why are they not sitting there on the F drive or my desktop where I'm used to them being? So when you add complexity to it and money, now the directors and the owners, they're really starting to question you. Do we need this? This is going to make it a little harder for us to work. No exact fit. It could be a CPA firm, which means you've got, like us, over, 100 different applications. And they're all proprietary, because that's the accounting world. It could be a legal industry. So maybe you live in PDFs a lot, in and out. But then you've got maybe a few other legal document management systems that are independent to each matter or to each client. Maybe you're in the cloud. You probably have email, at least. Corporate legal departments in some of the bigger companies, maybe they're trying to gather all their documents as they grow and do acquisitions. So at that point now, it's getting expensive, it doesn't quite fit us, and we need more people to manage it. And it's change. This is probably the biggest one. I kind of split this one in the middle. Money and then change. Who likes change? Nobody. Nobody likes change. Anybody here like change? Nobody likes change. So if you have a corporation of any type, and you have anybody older than the age of, let's say, 30, I'm just going to pack out a nice round number of 30, they are not going to adapt well to change. They are used to their documents being in the same place every time. They're on their desktop. That's where they should be. That's how I'm the most efficient. I don't like change. And now you have to train me to do it too. And I'm old. I'm older than 30. I don't know anything about technology. I can use my iPhone. That's about it. But now I have to adapt, and I have to change, and then when the invoice comes in for the software, I'm not very happy about that. And then we have some risk. Not just the risk that, you know, your documents are moving around, you're going through this upgrade process, you're going through a migration process. But if we look back at change, we've changed our processes on where our documents are and how we access them. So the risk comes from, you've got that one person who doesn't want to change. So he's putting the documents on his desktop. We're not going to say too much about the security things because we hear a lot about that today, but let's just say it gets encrypted in a bad way. Now he's lost that document because he wasn't following procedures, policies with the new document management system. Somebody else goes to find it, and it's gone. So now we've got some risk from going to a new document management system because people are purposely putting things in places where they can hide it from the system admin or the IT admin. There's other risk as well. We'll talk about that later. Anything else? Anything else anybody can think of why you would not want or need a document management system? Or what kind of excuses are you all here? Anybody have any good excuses?
I don't want anybody else to see my files.
There is that, yes. Privacy. Any other ones?
Compliance.
There is compliance.
You also have like the, we got this, focus too.
We're not big enough. I think we're okay where we're at. We'll try again next year. Let's keep looking. All right, so do you really, really need that DMS? Again, I can't answer that for you. But it is expensive. Time is money. So a lot of you in here most likely represent organizations that you're selling services, not necessarily widgets. So a widget could be a server, or it could be a switch, it could be some Band-Aids, I don't know. It could be just about any type of little item that you can put a price tag on, and you're going to mark that up a little bit probably. But in the services industry, your time is your money. So with the right system, if you're adding efficiency, and when you add efficiency, you're adding more time to charge to your clients. So even though you're going to have to pay for this system, maybe a system that's a little more complex and maybe a little more work up front, long term, there's a good chance it'll pay for itself. The design is key. We're going to fight the complexity, and we're going to do a lot of work up front. A lot of work up front. I'm not talking weeks and weeks of just looking through your documents and what they are, but long term. Where are we going to be long term? So when you design your document management system that you're thinking about getting, or that maybe you have purchased, or maybe you have an existing system and you're going to upgrade to the latest, greatest, next gen, design long term. When I joined our firm, you know, I thought maybe we would double in growth. We would get there, but we're 200 more employees now, 2 additional locations now that we didn't have before, and always looking for more. And when you start looking at mergers, acquisitions, and how that affects your document management system, and you start bringing in documents with different naming conventions and different locations and different map drives, if you can design it right up front, they should slide right in. There is no exact fit, so we like to start small. And small could vary. So, you know, just an example, and I'll talk more about our firm in a little bit and what we did. But, you know, if you're rolling out a new document management system, let's target our client documents first. Or maybe let's target our human resources department first. One small area. Make sure we work out the bugs. Once you work out those bugs, then hopefully the rest of the departments can come on board. Change. Anybody like change yet? Nobody's changed their mind? We still don't like change? Well, as you can see, technology is always changing. Tucker told us about that a little bit already. So not only is technology changing to allow you more space on smaller devices, it's like when you move into a bigger house, you're gonna get more stuff and you're gonna fill it up. Same concept. So when you are looking at change, be ready for growth and adding lots more documents. You bought a new sand this year, you thought you had plenty of space. Well, now you've got plenty of space, let's put some snapshots on there, some extra backups, and let's put all this other data that was sitting on this much slower state of storage now. So let's plan for some change, and let's use change for the good. Let's make ourselves more efficient. And training, lots of training. Do lots and lots and lots and lots of training. You can never do enough training. I realize it takes time. And again, time is money. Consultants don't want to give up time for training when they could be charging clients. But we're looking at the big picture, the long-term goal. We're trying to save them time long-term so they can spend more time charging their clients. So more training up front is going to make a difference. And then risk. So we don't say those words that Tucker said out loud in our office. We just don't. We knock on wood every time we come and we go. We just don't say them out loud. Those things are scary. And I'm not going to mention them here too, because I brought one of our firm laptops with us and I'm terrified to say anything bad in front of them. But if all of your client files are sitting on a map drive, that's the target of all these bad systems out there. Again, you know, it's hard to go without saying it, but that's the target. They're going for shares. They're going for public shares. So if your document management system is hiding your documents on the back end in a hidden share somewhere or not even a share, you're going to cut your risk in half, because this thing that's working its way around your network is not going to be able to find them. There's a lot more security involved with a managed document management system than there is just a mapped drive. All right, so we've all decided we're ready for change. We've got a little bit budgeted in place. We're ready to get a document management system. We all know we need it. Maybe you don't, but again, I'm telling you that you need it. So if you don't need it, we'll talk afterwards. Do you have a document management system already? You have email? You have a document management system. You have a map drive, it could be an F drive, it could be any drive. You have a document management system. You have files stored locally on your desktop. You have a document management system. It's horrible. That's not a document management system anybody would want, but you have one because you have documents. Think outside your box. We started out looking at accounting industry software for a document management system. Couldn't find a good fit. Maybe we can write one, maybe we can use our engagement system. We looked into the legal industry, we looked into just general cloud. Find one that will fit your entire business long term. But you don't have to change your business to fit the document management system. Form a committee. Make sure you are including someone in your search from every possible department. Now, you don't want a huge committee because that's a lot of hands in the pot there. But you want to make sure you've hit all your major departments. For example, if you're in accounting industry, tax, audit, business consulting, non-client, make sure you include your admin folks. And then make sure you include someone from every age level. That is very important for acceptance. Maybe the young guys like this cloud-based stuff where you can just kind of hover and things pop up. But your managing owner who's 65 plus years old, who's writing the check to pay the invoice for this software, he wants it to look old school. He wants it to look like what he's used to doing because he doesn't like change. So when you're looking at your evaluation group, make sure you've included both sides. Because when your new staff come in, if they don't like it, they're going to find a way around it. Maybe they like the cloud so they can access their data somewhere else and they're going to use Dropbox, which is not secure. So again, let's make sure we hit both sides of the spectrum, make sure we include everybody from each department, that they don't have to have a technical background, but it's nice because you're touching some technology here. You're not just touching documents and files, but you're touching technology. But the reason that you also want to ensure that you get the right people is because they know what their files are used for. Not me, I'm the IT guy. I'll restore them from backup all day. But I don't know why they created that file, why they put it there, and what they named it like that for. And I don't know about the content either. Maybe it's a tax return, maybe it's an audit report, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it's just some notes from a meeting they went to. Again, they're going to know more about their documents. If it was me, I would just make everything one name. I would keep it simple, and then I would lock it all down so nobody could get to it. But again, that's not going to make a business run. And then don't set a deadline. A document management system to me is very, very critical to keeping your firm going. If they can't access their data, they can't work. So you created a budget, you've got everybody ready for change, they're all excited about it, you've formed your committee. So let's find a new document management system this year. It's budgeted for this year, let's make it happen. If it doesn't happen this year, don't panic. Try again next year. And the year after that. Remember, there's change, and there's growth, and there's change. If you didn't use that budget this year, that's okay. That makes you look good. You came in under budget. Let's add some more budget to it next year. Keep on looking. It took us 5 years to find the right solution for Dean Dorton. 5. All right, so now we're moving forward. We've found some manufacturers that make some software packages that we're considering. But they might be some accounting centric or legal centric, or it could be just a basic random document management system. But let's read their contracts. Let's not just read the contracts on their website. Let's ask them for a contract that says, what if I bought your software? What if I did? If I buy your software, do I get to keep the licenses if I don't renew my maintenance? Or what if I have some competition to your company? Can I still buy your software? Because we do some of the same business. Or maybe you already have some other software in-house that might be similar or compete with this company's software. Some of those contracts out there, they won't let those softwares talk or integrate, and they will fight you all day long because they want to be the only document management system in your office, the only software, the only vendor. Read those contracts. They're pretty important. This was big for us. We read the contracts. We thought, the contract was not too bad, but let's keep looking into them. But issues happen. How big is their help desk? How big is their support? When I first call, am I getting a live voice? Am I getting a voicemail? Am I getting email only? Am I getting just a web portal? So maybe they've got 5 people on their help desk, and then what they really have is 1 person on their level 1 help desk, and maybe 1 on their level 2 help desk, and maybe 3 that are really just engineers doing all the programming on the back end. That could make a difference. Not just for your design, because if you know your design, this one help desk guy, he may not know his way around how your system is set up very well. And then maybe they have 2 help desk guys and one's out sick. How long is this queue going to be? How long before they call you back and you have an issue? It's tax season. We need our taxes out the door, but I can't get to that document because something's going on. So I like to look at other help desks and make sure that there's a good response, and that if they'll let me talk to them, that's great, but if not, I'm going to find out what I can about them. I'm going to ask other people that use them. How good is their help desk? Use user groups, ITMA, or any other alliance, anybody else that's using that software, but not necessarily recommended by that vendor. They're going to give you references all day long. They're going to call the references first and say, hey, somebody's going to call you. Just let me know. And we're doing a good job for you. So let them know about that too. And that's good. Talk to those people. But if you can, find somebody that they didn't reference, but is using that software, but all possible. Check with your peer groups. You know, if you've got, you know, there's some competition in this room. There's several of us in this room that do the same thing. We're not here to compete today, but we can certainly talk to each other about what application we're using and how well we like it. So if you're in any group like this or any other group similar to ITMA, check with them. Read those contracts again. I'll pound that in today. Contracts are pretty important. When you're buying something this big and this long term, and let's just say you picked a solution that's in the cloud, and somewhere in that really fine print it said, if you decide to leave us, we can give you your data back, but we don't have to give it to you within a week. We can give it to you when we're ready. They may not set a date. They may say a month, they may say 6 months, they may just say, we'll give it to you. But that's at their convenience. So when you're migrating to another system and you're leaving them and your data is in the cloud and they have it, you have to wait until they give you the data. But let's say you've ended your contract with them and you don't have access to it anymore in the cloud, now we're getting in trouble. Just a little tidbit in your contracts. Read those contracts a couple times and have somebody else read them. After a while they get blurry. How much do they know about your industry? What kind of industries do we have here today? I'm going to wake everybody up. Any accounting firms? No accounting firms. Legal industry. Anybody here legal? No legal? This is fine. Any healthcare? Anybody in healthcare? We're all sleeping today. Where else some industries to me?
Government.
Manufacturing?
Government.
Government? All right, so there's a couple. When you bring in a document management system, a lot of times they are tailored to a specific industry. In the accounting industry, we like classes and subclasses. Kind of a two-layer approach. We like fiscal years, because we're doing taxes based on a fiscal year. We're doing audits based on a fiscal year. Legal industry, they're doing it based on matters. One big old project. Eventually, when that matter is closed, and everything is solved and closed, and the lawyers have gone home, we're done with that project. We'll archive it. Manufacturing, you are most likely going to be all over the board. Sounds about right. That sound about right? Yeah. But again, there still has to be some sort of, even though it's complex, some sort of direction to take that you can bring it all together. And government, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I can't go into much detail on government because, well, the government keeps the ties on that. But again, your industry is very specific in how you get your work done. Some of you are based on deadlines. So if your software vendor doesn't know about your industry, they're not going to be able to support you as well. And when you put in a call or a ticket on April 14th because you can't get to a tax return that's due the next day, and everybody here knows about taxes because we all do it, then you know that's pretty vital. Now when you have 200 people trying to do tax returns on April 14th, it's even more scary. The system is down. Do they know? Do they care? Are they ramping up their resources during tax season? Or during government audit season, which comes right after tax season? So again, do they know your industry? Can they support it? Can they offer recommendations? While you're designing your implementation, how much can they help you with that design? Or are you doing all the design and they're just giving you a piece of software? It's very nice when they know about your industry and they can offer you recommendations, because they've already done it for other firms just like you in your same industry, and maybe they've done it better. How big are their clients? To me, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be able to handle thousands and thousands of endpoints. So maybe your client and you have, let's say, 1,000 computers and 1,000 users, and now you've also got this other company that they're supporting and they've got 10. Are they able to prioritize between that? Do they know the difference on how much work is involved in keeping up with 1,000 versus 10? Where's their sweet spot? A lot of times they design these software for a certain infrastructure. So if you're a 10-person company, you're probably in the cloud, most likely, or you've got some limited hardware resources. But if you are a 1,000-person company or 500, you're going to have some servers, you're going to have some IOPS to worry about, you're going to have some network utilization, and then you're going to have a lot of graphics involved. Doesn't matter who you are and what you do, there's graphics, because everybody here uses PDFs at some point. Do they have third-party options and integrations? So there's a couple of things there. One is we like to have as few applications as possible in our firm. That way we don't have to support them all. We're IT people. We don't want to have to go to 90 different applications to administer the users, to set the security, to change little settings here and there, and then we have to patch them all as well too. So can they integrate? Can they bring in your users from Active Directory automatically? Can they integrate to your practice management system to bring in your clients, to bring in additional WIP data, to bring in any other information that's important to you? If they can, that's a big plus. If not, do you have any programmers in your office? Because you're going to want that long term. After a while, it gets pretty painful just to keep up with another system. So lots more about the manufacturers that we like to research. How detailed is their documentation? Do they care? Are they keeping it up to date? Do they have a date changed on it? Hopefully they're keeping it up to date to be supported with, let's say, Windows 2016. But does their documentation tell you you need to update the registry key on your servers to allow for a certain change on 2016? And which key is it? How easy is it to find that documentation? Windows patch comes out. We're all patching all the time now because fuckers made us scared. We've broken our document management system. Does their documentation tell you how to fix it? Hopefully it does. Is it detailed? Or do you have to call the help desk and they have to do everything for you? Do they have user conferences or groups? A user conference is fun. We got free food, we get to meet some fun people. But what's even better is when you get to talk to other users using the same software and it's not managed. It could be at lunch, it could be a round table. What are you hearing? Is it all complaints? Is it all complaints about the same thing? Or are they just raving about how great it is? You're not going to hear that from your references. You're going to hear that from your peers at a user conference, at a group, where everyone is going to talk about the same thing. And who do they partner with? Again, we're a technology. It's all about technology. Are they Microsoft partners? Are they Veeam, VMware, Cisco? Those are some big names. What's your industry? Do they have any partners in your industry? Are there government applications, manufacturing applications that they already partner with? Accounting applications they already partner with? If they do, that's a good sign. They're paying attention. They're listening to their users. Hopefully you can give them feedback and say, hey, we work with this software a lot. Can you partner up with them? Can you make an integration? And will they do it? Back to references again. I like references. References are big for me. I like to talk to other people that have used it. I like to talk to the IT guys and find out how many times it crashed and how hard is it to get support. I want to talk to the users and find out, are you happy with this document management system? Can you find your documents? What would you change about it? And I'm doing all this research up front. That's why this is not happening in a year. Don't set a deadline. There's a lot of research. But again, in the long term, put the right solution in place, you ask all the right questions, you won't have to come back to a lot of these later. It's in place. It's working. They're a lot more efficient. Are they respected by their peers? So, in the accounting industry, for example, there are hundreds and hundreds of applications out there. They all do the same thing. Taxes are taxes. Let's calculate some taxes. Let's work them out. Audits are audits. Let's run through and do an engagement. Fun stuff. Everybody knows who their competition is. And when you go to something like an AICPA or just a general tech conference and you see some competition there and they're saying, you know, I like these guys over here, they're doing a good job. We try to compare with them sometimes. That's a good sign. So check with their peers and see if everybody's keeping up and if they're respected by their peers. If their peers are all talking bad about them, then you may want to step back and find out why. If maybe one of them is, that's probably some direct competition. They're fighting over one client. But again, if you hear that from several peers, now let's step back and look at them again. What are they doing with their cloud data? Some security concerns. Do we read the contracts? Are they going to let us have it if we don't renew? Or late with our payment? You know, or let's just say for some reason, and this does happen, again, for some reason, they have a technology issue. It's on their end. It's nothing to do with you. Contract says 99.99% uptime. But there's that 1% or less than that. They have a problem. They have a corrupted SQL database in the cloud. Again, it's not your fault. You're paying them to host it for you to keep your data. Do they have backups of that? Do they have disaster recovery in place? Are they going to set you back to 6 that morning, the last time they did a backup? Are we going back to an hour-old snapshot? Maybe for a 10-person firm, that may not affect you as much. 1,000 people, that's a lot of changes in an hour. Can we trust them? Do they have documentation and contract information about what they're doing with your cloud data? Not just PCI and HIPAA and all that kind of good stuff, because there is compliance, but can they give it back to you? Let's say they accidentally messed up somewhere along the way, because that happens, we're all humans, and they restore it. Can they get you back to where you were? And if you can't, are they going to give you some sort of refund? Maybe it's in the contract. We're going to read the contract again just to make sure. What if you don't renew maintenance? This could be cloud, this could be on-premise. Depending on your contract again, because I like to talk about contracts a little bit. Maybe if you don't renew maintenance, you have to give them back everything. You give them back your software, you prove to them that the servers are shut down or deleted, removed from your system. Now you've got a bunch of GUIDs. Anybody know what a GUID is? It's a fun term. Yes, it's a GUI ID. It's a long string of characters that identifies each file. And that's stored in a SQL database. You own the SQL database, so that's fun. You own the files, those are yours. You can't access that data or those files directly without their application. And when you didn't renew your maintenance, because maybe you didn't like the software or any other reason, now it's up to you to decrypt. Again, I didn't say the bad virus when I said decrypt. Where those files are and what they're called. That's on-premise. Could be in the cloud. Again, what if you don't renew your maintenance? What if you don't renew your maintenance and you're in the cloud? When do you get your files back? Do you get your files back right away? What format are they in? Do they have any of the logs they're going to give you as well too? How many versions of that file do you get back? Or is it the latest version? So what if you don't renew your maintenance? It's a little scary, but they get you. Once you're in, keep up with your maintenance. We're trying to go long term. If you don't renew your maintenance, plan at least a year and ahead to not renew that maintenance. So you start gathering your files and downloading them, getting them in a format you know you can view and read. Anybody read the contract yet? Should all be online right now reading it as we speak. All right, so we'll talk about some technology requirements. I'm going to breeze through these quickly here. IOPS and server requirements, and storage space, and bandwidth. Doesn't matter whether you're on-premise or in the cloud. You need all of these. Does your vendor provide enough IOPS and server requirement for your busiest time of year, or just the off-season? What if your vendor brings on 3 new clients, and they're huge? Can they keep up? What if you bring on 3 new acquisitions? Can you keep up? Storage space, we'll talk about that again in a minute. Storage is scary when it comes to document management system. Disaster recovery, we're looking at a document management system that houses all your data, and you're responsible for disaster recovery. You're responsible for your VMware backups, your Veeam backups, your snapshots, backing up to the cloud, to your other site. When the logs are being maintained, your government, they may care about that a little bit. If you're in accounting, if we lost something, we care. If not, we'll keep going. How many updates and mods are applied? Do they take down the whole firm for a weekend? Is this a couple-day project? Can this be done after hours? Can we apply the updates without any downtime? That'd be nice. I don't think there is such a thing. And security. Everybody's still scared about security. We're reading the agenda, we see lots more security coming up. And are you browser independent? Or are we using Firefox, Chrome, Internet Explorer? Or do they install their own application? All right, so do we have enough hardware resources? Do you have enough hardware resources right now? The answer is always no. You never have enough hardware resources. You never will. And you never, ever will. But we'll try. We'll get as close as we can. But when you are considering your document management system, either improving the one you have right now and upgrading it, or migrating to a new one, how are they handling your files? Are they doing compression? If you're sending to the cloud, what are they going to do with that? Are they going to compress it up there? How much space do you really need? How many versions are you keeping? Are you keeping 10 versions of the same file because somebody said in that group that reviewed this that you needed it? 10 times the space. Now, compression may take some of that off, but again, that's more space. And now you're also doing some volume and some group snapshots on that same SAN that's storing this. Again, that's space. So your hardware resources are not just your storage or your servers. You're going to put in a new document management system. It's wonderful. It's great. You're ready to roll it out. Now you're standing up 4 new servers, 4 CPUs each, lots more RAM. Can you handle that? Can your cluster handle that? Can you have enough failover to fail over another host when it goes down? Can your infrastructure handle the migration? Anybody 10 gig yet? You should be. If not, get there. It's wonderful for migration. Move one server to another host very quickly. But we're talking document management now. We're talking terabytes of data. If you're doing let's say a migration from one document management system to another, you're probably going to be touching half, at least, of your firm's data on the first migration. We're talking just the client data, not even the non-client. And that's not counting emails. That's just your PDFs and your Words and your Excels that are just building up and building up. So when you do that migration, do you have a spare SAN sitting around you can kind of move things to and then delete the old stuff and shift it around? Are they going to lay on top of your existing files and not move them? What's this migration look like? Can your infrastructure handle that? Because again, that's going to be some downtime when you're looking at an upgrade or a migration if you can't keep up with that much network utilization or server utilization. You need more server licenses? How are you licensed? Per core? Per CPU? You're adding a new document management system or retiring one? You have to have them both running at the same time. So we need to license Windows for that. We're going to a new solution. Now we need SQL licenses. Maybe we need some more cows. So when you're starting to look at your server licenses for your new document management system, you want to look not just now, but long term. So now you're building your budget. We're just going to do client data now, but I want to add some non-client stuff later. And maybe I want to isolate it. That could be another server or two. Is your SAN sufficient? IOPS and IOPS and IOPS. So your data is sitting on the SAN. Your servers are sitting on the SAN. Your non-client data is sitting on the SAN. Putting in a new document management system, or you're upgrading, you're trying to keep up with your existing document management system, you're running low on space. Now we don't have enough room for snapshots. Now we're starting to beg and borrow on space. We'll go ahead and add another SAN. Just adding another one. That's just money. It's only money. So now we've got our new SAN in place, and then we acquire another company, and we have their data as well too. So when you are looking at, is your SAN sufficient, you're looking at space, you're looking at IOPS, because when you acquire this other company, you draw out another 50 people, and they're all hitting that file search as well. And every time they add files, they have to get indexed. Can your SAN keep up with that? You have enough space for the migration. I mentioned that a little earlier. If you're migrating in-house, you're going from one on-premise document management system to another, Or let's say you don't have a good document management system and you're still on the shared drives. And you're migrating, you need double the space, or maybe a little bit more, just in case. Once you migrate to the new document management system, because you think over the weekend, we'll get it over there, we'll borrow this space, we'll be at 99% utilization for a little bit, and then we'll delete the old stuff. Let's keep it around for just a little bit longer. Let's run at 99% for a couple months. That's not a very good planning strategy, because let's just say your migration doesn't go as smooth as you hope. Hopefully we've still got the old data where it was, because there was this one subset of, let's say, 500 files that didn't migrate correctly. Where are they? Can I go back and get them? Do I have to go back to backups? That can take a while. Or can I look at my original structure because I still know it still exists? Can I move that off to an old temporary SAM or a NAS? Just temporary. We'll look at bandwidth. How much is enough? In-house, 10 gig is great between your servers. 1 gig to your workstations, that usually handles about everything. Are you going to the cloud? If you're going to go to the cloud, there's never enough bandwidth. Never. And it doesn't matter how many firewalls and web filters you have in place blocking all the streaming. You'll never have enough bandwidth. They always want faster. Always want faster. So you have to start with testing and talking to other people and their peers and references. How much are they using? Do you have a backup internet connection just in case it goes down? Can you run without the cloud for a while or without the internet for a while? If your backup internet is maybe 5 meg or 10 meg or 50 meg, who can work off of that? At this point, they're panicking and they're trying to fix the issue. But people are also trying to work production over that same amount. Maybe they're corrupting some files because they're running out of bandwidth. You have backup internet, is it big enough? Probably not. It never will be, so that's okay. Something to think about. And can you increase the pipe for your migration? Let's say we're going to migrate to a cloud-based solution. If you can go to your telecom vendor and get them to just temporarily bump you up to however fast that they can. If you're fiber, it should be pretty darn fast. They bring in a second connection, or turn up a second connection. Turn up your pipe for a month so that you can cut that migration down exponentially. It makes a huge difference. Turn it back down again. It's worth the cost to bump up your internet just for that. Of course, that's on your end. What about on the vendor side? You're getting ready to migrate your terabytes worth of data up to the cloud. Once they're up there, it's probably not a big deal, but there's going to be a period of time where not only are you filling up your bandwidth, hopefully over the weekend, of uploading all these files, but now you're also maxing out your vendor's internet because you're piping it into their pipe. Do they have some sort of option to boost theirs up during the migration? Are they doing any QoS? What are they doing to make this migration smooth for you, bandwidth, if you're going to the cloud? And disaster recovery. Again, we're not going to say bad things out loud about those things that seem to work their way around, but document management solutions are complex. We know that already. We talked about that. So they should have some way, some format to have a disaster recovery for their system. They're not going to manage your entire system, but they should be able to at least restore your system. Maybe it's a corrupt SQL database. Maybe you need to restore something from backup, but you need to find that GUID. How easy is it to find that file based on the GUID? Do they have some system for that? Do they have a system for your offsite storage? How are we going to get it offsite in case the whole building falls down? Do you need additional license for that? Let's go back to the money part. Sometimes they're going to charge you for that. What if you need additional server licenses as well, or additional CPUs or cores in order to run this offsite? Your current system's running great, by the way, but now we've introduced a lot more resources. So we have to think about our offsite as well too. So now we've got more servers offsite in order to run our DR system, more storage offsite to run our DR system. What if we lose internet access to our cloud-based solution? That's our backup internet we talked about earlier. But you gotta think about the what if, because it's gonna happen. It will happen. There's always a failure somewhere. And it could be somebody driving into a telephone pole, could be construction, taking out that fiber, and maybe both of your internet vendors come in over the same fiber connection, but it's gonna happen. And it may not be your fault. I'm gonna say it's not your fault. And there's nothing you can do about it. But you worked for 5 years to persuade your firm to spend lots and lots of money to move to this new document management system and put it in the cloud, because that's the cool thing to do. And when you are down on April 14th and 15th, what's your backup plan? What do you tell them? How much SLA do you need in order to keep your business going if you can't access your data in the cloud? And how do you restore backups? If you've got a regular backup system like most people have that's maybe doing a Veeam or a Symantec, you're taking some snapshots on your SAN, you're storing some of your whole VMDKs off-site on another SAN and maybe locally, you're backing them up to the cloud. Can you stand that server back up and use their interface to get back to your file? Or do you need to track down that GUID? And when can you go back to? How many times? Or can you just use a version? Maybe somebody just deleted something or made a change. Do they have versioning? And if you're going to use it, how many versions are you going to keep? And how easy is it to go back to a previous version? And let's say you do go back to a previous version, or you allow your users to. What did they just undo that somebody else did? So that kind of goes back to permissions a little bit. And logging. A lot of people don't think about logging, but some IT people do because, well, we need logs. We need them. Somebody deleted something. Somebody lost a file. Something got corrupt somewhere along the way. To you, you know, you can dig through logs and logs and logs. To them, all they want is their file back. They want to know where and why and what. So if you can prove, using your logs, that it was, you know, Joe that deleted it or made the change, and it wasn't your system, your new document management system, that corrupted your file. Or maybe you need it for disaster recovery, maybe you'll need it for audit. You never know when a log will come in handy, but when you start looking at those logs, now you're looking at space. How long are you going to keep your logs? Where are you going to put them? Where are you going to store them? That's more space for your SAN. How long are you going to keep those logs? What's your retention policy on data? Do your logs match that? Are you keeping your logs past the retention period for your data? And updates and modifications. When you buy a new system, you expect it to have everything you need up front all the time. That's the way it should work. But let's say that there isn't a modification that you made, or let's say there's an update you want to try, and you tweaked your system a little bit, maybe your classes and subclasses or your document tagging is a little different than everybody else, and the updates have to be applied to get you on the latest version. Did you break your changes? Do they apply separately? Maybe the updates are stored in a separate file somewhere. Can you go back to a log and figure out where it broke? Can you do your own updates? Or do you have to go to them to do the updates? We're IT people. We want to do as much as we can ourselves, if possible. Sometimes we need to pass it off to them. But again, if they're going to do the updates, they're going to want to do them during the day, because that's their business hours. For IT updates, your business hours are Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. Will they do the updates during that time period, or are we looking at an outage? And then if you're doing the updates, do you know enough about these updates to roll them back in case they don't work? And do they? Are the client versions dependent on the server? This kind of depends on your software, but again, if you're in the cloud, it really shouldn't matter. Unless you're using an outdated browser, or in case you're using an outdated operating system. If you're running a local application, can you update the server, get it patched up, and then go to each workstation and update them, but them still work, them still being able to work if you haven't patched their system yet. Because let's say you're a small IT shop and you've got 200 computers to update. and you need to get your updates rolled out quickly, you can't be everywhere all at once. Maybe these updates are complex. Maybe there's registry keys involved. Maybe you can't script it. So again, they need to be able to keep working after an update. Maybe you can update all your workstations first and then update the server. Do they depend on each other? Will they break the third-party integrations that we paid a little bit extra for so that we could link in all of our client data and our billing information from our practice management system? When you apply those updates, your system is fresh and updated and great and wonderful. Now, the ODVC connections are broken, maybe the security patches broke some things. So again, are they aware of that when they do the update or when you do the update? Will your operating system updates break your document management system? Or your browsers? Does it matter which browser you're using? What about Microsoft Office? Most document management systems have plugins in Office, Excel, and Word, Outlook. What happens when you update your Office? Or what happens when you update your document management system? What breaks? And they're all using add-ins, and those add-ins all fight with all the other add-ins in Office. We've seen this before. They all fight and just disable each other. So, I have to do some testing if you can. It's hard to test an upgrade on a document management system. It's really hard to test that. Really, the best test is to find somebody else that already did it and see what happened for them. That's usually the best test. Once you roll it forward and you're updated, it's not going to go backwards. You're just going to have to fix it, keep going. Security is scary. You'll hear a lot more about security, so I'm not going to dig into it too much today. Fucker scared us. A lot more people are going to scare us today. But your documents are very important to you, and it doesn't matter what company you're with, what industry, what service group, it doesn't matter. You've got information and your system that you want protected. That should get everybody interested on how is their system being secured. Even if it's Active Directory integration. Maybe they've got some plugins that go from your cloud-based into your server, and they're running some services in the background, they're linking them up, and that's great and wonderful. But again, there's some open pipes there. What if you need to secure some individual files or individual clients separate from everybody else because it's this big important client, and they're new and they're huge and they're major, something big's going on with them. They don't want all of your firm to know about it. Can you lock down just that client to just certain people? And then do you have logs to tell that nobody else has gotten into it? Are the files stored on the local hard drive when they're open? So we're looking at a document management system here that allows you to open up, edit, add files, manage all of your client files. It doesn't matter whether you're cloud or on-premise. These files are showing up on your computer screen somehow. The majority of these manufacturers out there are copying that file temporarily to a temp place. A lot of temp and temporary stuff going on here. So they're going to copy it to your local hard drive so that you can open it and edit. And then when you close it, it's really supposed to go back up to the network and check itself back in again. But of course, your internet will never go out, so you don't have to worry about losing your internet connection and losing the ability to check it back in again. You're not looking at anything too confidential that if somebody got hold of your computer with those files checked out on them that you don't care to lose. Important tax returns and HIPAA stuff and other confidential things. So again, if they're being stored on your local hard drive, where, why, how long are they staying there? Can you do audits? Can you look at logs to see if there's still things out there? These systems should be able to tell you that. If you've got a laptop, it should be encrypted. But that doesn't matter. That file is still on your local hard drive. And if that file is being checked out on your local hard drive, when you open it and make edits to it and you change it, then that person who has that hard drive and that laptop is responsible for that file and every change and every edit they make to it. And when they close it, it should go back up to the network. But there's always that what if. So if those files are local, you need to know about where they are and what they're doing there and how to make sure they don't stay there. Are you storing anything bad? HIPAA, PCI, other confidential stuff? Are you compliant with that? Does this system manage that? Does it have its own compliance? Does it have any certificates? Does it have anything that says that it's meeting compliance? Are you using two-factor authentication? It's more security stuff here. If you're in the cloud, you should be using two-factor. If you're using virtual desktops and storing all the data in-house, you should be using two-factor. I would love to see 3 and 4 and 5-factor, but that would set us back a little bit. At a minimum, two-factor. If you're accessing client data from anywhere. And acceptance. This was the biggest thing in our firm when we started looking at a document management system. Acceptance. Everybody needs to accept this software, starting with your group. The user face was key for us. We go back to change. Nobody likes change. Let's find a user interface that they're most used to, something they will all accept. If they will accept it, they'll use it. If they'll use it, the documents will be managed, they'll be secure, they'll be in the same place. If they don't accept it, they're going to be all over the place. And that's not just for the document management system itself. Let's say you've implemented a document management system and they love it. They're all accepting it. They're using it. It's wonderful. But now you've got 19 different ways to tag a document. Now you've lost them again. They're going to put it in there, but they're going to find something called other or general. So the acceptance needs to go all the way down to the document tagging level. Integration. Integration is pretty big for the IT people. Users don't care about it. They don't. But IT, we have to keep up with all the user accounts, the security. How much can we integrate this? And will the IT people accept it as well too? Not just the IT manager, but all the network admin staff that have to support it. Is it efficient? That's what we're looking for. We're looking for time is money. Sure, we've made some changes. We all read our contracts. We like the software, storing the documents, but is it 19 clicks to get to that one document? Because it's super secure. Is it efficiency? Is it improved by the entire review committee? If you've got one holdout, I would step back. And I would look just to make sure, why are they holding out? Your review committee is your front line, but they also should include users that are going to actually use it. If one person on your review committee is holding out, there's going to be other people that are going to hold out too. And they're going to find a way around it, and they're not going to accept that change. And let's set some expectations. What is this software for? What are we managing? Is it client data? Is it non-client data? Is it in the cloud? If it's in the cloud, what kind of speed should we get? If it's local, it should be pretty darn fast. Is it going to handle all of our other custom applications? We've got all kinds of fun custom applications in accounting. Income tax planning, fixed asset software, and they all have their own little extension and their own application. Will this manage those, or are we looking at managing those separately now? What kind of features do they have? Do they have lots and lots of features, and now it's overwhelming and nobody cares? Do they have just the features that we need we can turn on and kind of hide and gray out the other ones? We have versioning and checking in and checking out. How do you get your files off of your document management system to send to somebody securely? Am I running out of time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry about that. We'll go faster. Administrator. How is it administered? Who's going to administer it? Who's going to keep up with all these documents? Who's going to keep up with the system to make sure it's healthy? And how easy is that done? Is that internal, or is that your vendor? Is that part of your maintenance plan? Is it in your contract? Did you read your contract? Workspace centric is pretty big for me. And again, I kind of ran out of time here, so I can do demos. If you stop by the table, I'll show you what we're doing and what workspace centric means. But really, it's making sure that all of your documents are tagged, that they're all in the right place, the right time, and that you can't get away with generals. You can't get away with others. You can't just put them all in one little spot called Bob. Sorry, Bob. So required fields, are they engagement, are they non-client? Can we set it up separately? What kind of documents are we doing? Emails, 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 emails. I could spend the next 2 hours talking about emails and how to manage those. I won't, but I could. How are we tagging them? What kind of options and add-ons can we get? And what about portals? Does it have a portal? If it doesn't, it needs to. That's It's just a whole nother third-party software that we'd really like to get away from. We'll flip through portals very quickly. Everybody knows what a portal is? Send everything securely, don't email it. Integrate is a lot easier. These systems should include some option for retention. You need retention. Even if you keep them forever, and everything forever, you need something that marks that logs that says that's going to happen. So if you lose a file along the way, you know why and what happened. But really, you need a retention. And your document management system is where you start with that. How's their support? We talked about that a little bit already. Third-party add-ons, what can you integrate to? How efficient can you get? How fast will it go? And who's going to support it? We talked about DR a little bit already too. And in summary, do you need it? I think so. But again, it's up to your firm and your review groups. Maybe you put together a review committee that says, let's look at getting a document management system. And they come back and say, we don't need it. If that's the answer, that's the answer. How do you measure success? Your users are using it, and they're using it the right way. Any questions? All right, I flew through that because I know you all are excited to hear about more security things. There's a lot of security things. But if you will stop by my table at any time today, I'll give you a demo of what Dean Dorton is using and show you how we gained acceptance. Because we finally, after 5 years, found the software that we love, and it is widely accepted throughout our firm. Thank you.